inviting
we're live. We're live, everyone. Kevin just dropped off. There we go.
That's clear.
We will see how this goes. Hey, John, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? I'm having some issues with my camera for whatever reason.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we've got you.
Okay, perfect.
Just give it a couple of minutes longer while people are coming in. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thanks for organizing this.
Yeah.
Hi, John. Nice to meet you. I'm Jackie.
Hi, Jackie. Actually, Jackie, did we meet in Boston in this past June?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
That's right. It's just I've got two screens up there and you're really little. The picture of you is really little. So it's hard to tell. So we're waiting on a few others to join us.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll join us. They did say they were going to come on in.
Oh, there's another. Hi, Charlie.
Good morning.
Hi, Charlie.
Hello. Good morning.
Morning. Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
We're just waiting for one or two more.
Okay.
We're really glad that you're both here, John and Charlie. I think that you'll provide some really great insights that we'll be able to kind of cut and slice and push out there, copy you in. I hope that's okay.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Says Amanda is on but cannot be seen or heard.
I had a horrible feeling that might be the case. She was trying to join with her phone.
We could try and text her that second link, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Now I'm on twice because I've got you there. Sorry. It's a good idea. Now I'm on twice because
You'll edit it out, right, Vaughan?
Sorry, guys. So let me. Amanda. I've WhatsApped her the link.
Okay.
Two tech things going on here.
Yeah, the upside and the downside to live streaming is that they typically lock people out that aren't inside the thing. So.
Do we have anyone just listening in, Vaughan, do you know, looking at the platform from your side rather than participants?
Well, I'm not sure. I think I get the stats at the end. Actually,
Okay. So we could have 100 people just listening in and we don't know.
yeah. They'll be awfully bored.
No, they'll be riveted.
No, I meant with this current conversation. Maybe we should get started.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. So first of all, I'm just going to kick it off and thank you all for joining us to take a look at the discussion around when to move from a spreadsheet to a partner program.
There we go.
There we go. Amanda's joined us. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you for joining us, Amanda. We're just kicking off now. So the topic under discussion is when to move from spreadsheets and manual processes to a PRM and automation. So what I'd like to do, if I may, please, is starting with our guests. So that's Charlie, John, and yourself, Amanda. If you could just give us a very, very brief introduction of yourself. And with that, when doing so, describe kind of the pain points that you feel around, the boring tasks of running your channel programs when you haven't had automation, either in your current role or previous roles. So, Charlie, can I start with you, please?
Of course, not a problem. Thank you so much. My name is Charlie Coulange. I currently am the CEO of my own company, Strictly Business Consulting, but I do work in the tech environment. I've been in channels for about 15 plus years, and I've been doing all types of roles within the channel, from helping with the actual partner program setup and launching a new partner program for different companies, also managing partners and distribution, and doing sales as well within the channel.
And
so, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted. You carry on. It was really your challenges and pain points that you've suffered when working in these roles.
Sure, of course. So a lot of the things that we have that I have been hearing from not only the partner side, which is the outside of organizations, but within the organizations and within the teams that are in charge of running a good and successful partner program, is to be able to offer partners a good experience when participating in partner programs. It is not only to be able to measure if they can register deals and that there's some type of information that can measure how much the partners are accessing partner portals or maybe registering deals and closing deals, but it's also about how they get rewarded. No matter how they buy, is about them helping them access marketing funds to drive more business, give them more visibility on the achievements that they are really getting out of the program. We could be talking about having access and being able to access NDF funds, or maybe accessing some type of rebate program that we may have, seeing how they are compared to other partners, being able to participate in different activities that we do as overall, right? And that is very difficult to do on a manual process, or even with some PRM tools that do not integrate a lot of the internal software or programs that companies have. And that is, I think, the biggest pain that most companies that I work for and that I have consult for have, is how do you integrate a good PRM? How can you move away from the manual process of having to fill out Excel sheets or send Excel sheets to manage and measure partner performance, and focus on one tool or one software that can do it all? And I have to be sincere, I still haven't seen that. I have not had the chance to see a program that can manage everything. And I still see a lot of manual work.
Okay, good to know. So, John, if I may, the same question, introduction and what sort of barriers you've run up against in your various roles with the admin challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. So John Kaminsky, Director of Alliances at a company called Billing Platform. So we kind of automate, revenue management from, acquisition, billing, payments, all the way down to RevRec. So I started here at Billing Platform a little over 6 months ago, and they brought me on to help expand the global SI relationship. So that's my responsibility. I really don't handle too much of the ISVs. And so we started our partner program really just about 2 years ago, actually about 18 months ago. So it's kind of a work in progress, right? So we have our what I would call our goals or our milestones that we're trying to achieve, right, as we mature these relationships. One of the challenges I have really is that we don't really have a very good comprehensive PRM system. We're actually, in the market right now looking at a few different. But some of the challenges I have is the varying levels of relationships of the different system integrators I work with. So we work with very small boutique SIs, but we also work with the big four, right? So when you work with a GSI versus a boutique, it's very, very different in how you engage. And one thing I'm very concerned about, and it is a challenge, is around that partner experience, whether it's through registering deals, whether it's through joint go-to-market like account mapping, whether it's enablement, right, co-marketing, all that kind of stuff. It can be really manual, right? And I just find some days I'm just buried in admin of how many different Excel spreadsheets do I need to kind of go through today, right, to do that. So. Yeah. Again, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I just find that I'm very concerned about the partner experience, right? Especially on some of the larger SIs where they work with larger, software vendors where they have it a little bit more together, right? And it's so that's one of my challenges there. But we're moving forward with that. So.
Interesting. Yes, definitely. If some of your larger partners are used to a more slick partner experience, that can be a challenge. Thank you. Yeah. And over to you, Amanda. Same question, if you wouldn't mind, introduction and kind of your experience of the key pain points.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Amanda Fitzgerald. For the last 3 years, I've been the global marketing leader at Red Hat for distributors and resellers. So our main indirect route to market is via channel partners. Over 80% of our business goes through distributors and resellers. So I was the marketing leader at global level. My biggest challenge is our PRM system we've already got a PRM platform. It's very mature and it's great at managing opportunities which are being closed by partners. So deal registration, brilliant. Pipeline visibility, brilliant. But where we've got our biggest pain is level of engagement. Which partners are hosting, doing those co-marketing activities, which partners are hosting Red Hat customer workshops. All of that information exists, that level of engagement exists, but it's all in regional spreadsheets, which global can't see. The other regions can't see each other's activity. We don't really have complete visibility of the level of maturity of the partner. One of the other guests mentioned ISVs, the big partners, the alliance partners, the ISVs, the GSIs, the global systems integrators. Those partners are heavily engaged and we have visibility of their level of engagement. When we talk about distributors and resellers, we have over 3,000 resellers and over 300 distributors globally. When you're looking at scale, which is where I sit, it's very difficult to have that level of the visibility of engagement when we're talking about 300 to 3,000 partners. When you've only got 30 big GSIs, it's easy. But when you're scaling, it's difficult. So that's my biggest challenge.
Right. Thank you. So I'm going to bring Vaughan and Kevin in at this point. If you sort of bearing in mind what you've heard, both the scaling and the introduction of a PRM, in both instances, it's not necessarily that easy. And even with a PRM, there's still kind of some challenges. So what do you see in your experience as being those tipping points, those pain points that become too much? They have to start looking at PRM.
Yeah, maybe I can jump in here. We see a pretty common thread when it comes to these partner ecosystems. There's there's a point at which somewhere between, I don't know, it depends on how complex the partners are, but somewhere between about 50 and 30 partners, you see that pain point that John's mentioned, where trying to manage it across multiple spreadsheets and multiple points of entry with the partner becomes really challenging, because it not only is it hard to deal with administratively, but you're getting to a point where you want the partners to be highly engaged, and that engagement process is really, really difficult. And there's very little that you can do to kind of, aside from the one-to-one reaction or the one-to-one activity that you spend with them, there's very little other way to kind of push the engagement, push the interaction that you're actually looking for between them. And then when it comes to scale, as that continues to scale and grow, these platforms do one thing really, really well, and it's, if you can set up enough automation in the system itself, it can tell you when folks need help, when they're raising their hands, and when the type of engagement and the type of help that they need. And that sort of, those three pain points that people repeatedly mentioned are the primary use cases for why people actually jump into.
Yeah, partner experience was mentioned, I think, by all three. So in your opinion, and Vaughan, I'll ask you this one, for the partner experience to be just right, does it have to be a platform that offers PRM and everything, so there's one interface? Or, to Charlie's point, she's never seen one that does everything quite right. So how do you kind of square that circle, that do you need a platform, one experience for partners to come into and be able to do everything, or is that going to cut sort of some of the functionality a bit short? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because when you take a look at the research that's done by the analysts on this exact topic, there were something like 30 plus platforms that claim to be PRMs in some way or another. Okay, and then when you start getting to the bottom of the ones that they kind of said, look, these are the ones that quote unquote matter, and they did the analysis on that, it brought that 30 something down to 12. And when they did their landscape on that particular topic, there were only about 4 of them that actually had the entire end-to-end process nailed. And Charlie, it's no surprise that people are coming up short on some of this stuff, because the platforms, particularly when you talk about the term PRM and what's included or excluded there, I think as this moves over time, we're missing some of the table stake items that maybe used to be in those platforms that aren't making their way into them nowadays. And so people will buy what they think is a platform or a PRM, but it may or may not have the same features that they'd expected it to actually include. So you have to be a little bit careful about making sure, do you need an end-to-end platform? The answer to that is no, as long as the platform that you're engaging with actually addresses the pain point that you feel like you have, and that aligns to, over your contract period, the plan that you intend to put in place in the next X number of years, 2 to 3 years, that these contracts typically, lock in.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that. But so one of the main things I think a lot of people have done, it's when they get presented the PRM solutions for them to choose if they want to move away from what they currently have to a new one, and they have to do a demo or they have to do a POC, a lot of teams tend to sacrifice things, because they say, like you say, that they have A to Z services and they can do everything. But when we start asking for certain specific things that are very important to the partner ecosystem, that is actually going to help us measure and give the partner a great partner experience, that's when platforms start saying, well, yeah, we don't do it that exactly, but we can go around it and present it like this. And because it's so important to have a platform, a lot of the teams that have to make the decisions about moving away from what they currently have because it really doesn't work, they have to start negotiating things. And
Yeah.
we're talking about, for example, do you offer scorecards and a benefits report? Can that be aligned to Salesforce, for example, from a CRM perspective? Can we see the information from that database in the platform from the PRM? And that's when really they start saying, well, I mean, not exactly that way, but we can do this and this and that. And at the end of the day, we have the spreadsheets. There's always going to be a spreadsheet involved in anything that has to do with measuring partners.
Yeah, I guess, go ahead, Kevin, jump in.
I'll jump in one thing too, and kind of goes back to what John was saying also with Charlie, is that you talk about those spreadsheets, and I have them of those Google Sheets, and you log in one day and there's a new column, there's a new row where someone's changed things in there. And I think that inherently brings up one of the issues too of making sure that everyone's involved in a decision like this, that sometimes PRM or these decisions of software or process get put maybe in just into the sales organization or just into the marketing organization or just into the management side, depending on what the immediate pain point is. I think there's a big miss sometimes if you don't look at the big picture there. So as you start to say what makes that decision to move from a spreadsheet to a platform, and doing all of your all the requirements and doing all of the decision makers and who's going to have kind of influence in looking at these things, that everyone's represented so they can make sure that those things are there. Because if you make the short-term decision of like, we just need a deal registration platform to help enable the partners that way, or you're just trying to fix maybe the initial pain point, you miss that scope and scale of how you're going to grow. And the hardest thing to do is to make that decision. You put something into place, and then 6 months later, you say, hey, we're missing something, and we need to sidecar another piece of software, or you need to do a rip and replace. And all the turmoil that was gone through of just making a decision looks almost neglected if you didn't take all of those things in. So even what Amanda was saying too, of like how many partners you have or how many alliances you have, sometimes that isn't even the tipping point to say to go to a program. It's what are the functions that they need, not so much the numbers. So it's an art and a science together. You could say that's in a specific number or there's a specific feature, but there's a little bit of an art to it too, to say what is the most important thing at this time, and then also to look and say, organizations like mine, what do they need in 12 months, 18 months, 24 months down the road, so you don't kind of back yourself into a corner of just fixing today's problems to create problems tomorrow.
It's a really good point, Kevin, because Sophie and I have done work with vendors assessing and looking at PRM and what should they do. And part of that process is actually really getting under the covers to understand what their requirements are. And to that point, making sure that we've spoken to somebody in marketing, somebody in sales, and somebody across all the different elements to ensure that we have captured all of their requirements. And sometimes it changes during the course of the evaluation. They realize that actually, yes, as you say, they needed deal reg, but in fact, with these new partners, they're going to need to give them some training. So they then realize the importance of some of the other elements that the PRM may well offer. So I think it's a very good point. Getting under the covers and doing a full kind of assessment of what you need before you go ahead, I think is key. Would anybody dispute that?
Well, one that springs to mind in that way, we had a big conversation with a client a year or so ago, and they were trying to make the decision, and I'd be interested to get everyone's feedback on this. They're trying to make the decision, do they build a partner platform and then have the PRM tools sit underneath the platform, so they have the ability to bring in other PRMs or other pieces of software all coming into one branded platform? Or do they build a PRM so it's a better partner experience from day one, but knowing that they might run out of road and it might not be able to tick all the boxes in the future? And it was a real forward planning decision that had to be made. And we did a lot of kind of internal workshops and stakeholder calls between the technical team and the commercial team and the partner team to try and get some consensus on what the priority was, because their goals were commercially partner experience, but technically, not running out of road from requirements. I don't know if that made sense, but I'll be interested to get people's feedback.
Yeah, I'm interested in our three guests' view on this, actually. I mean, as John, as you're kind of starting to have to navigate those waters, and as Amanda, as you're much further along in that process, it's a whole new set of questions. But where are you guys at with that, and what are you doing there?
This is really interesting because, as I say, we've got a very mature PRM system, but it does not address all of our needs, even though it's mature. But it's interesting what you've just said, Sophie. When the platform was put in place, it was the stakeholder for the platform provider was our technology team. So the marketing operations team and the sales operations team, so the real techies. And line of business, which is me, and partner sales and partner marketing were not even at the table. And we just get told what platform was being introduced and how it was going to be implemented. But we are the line of business. And Charlie and John, I don't know whether you sit on the sales side or the marketing side or a bit of both, but not having line of business in those stakeholder discussions is where everything unravels, because the technical bods know their technical. They know how platforms interact with each other. They know the hierarchy. They know how information goes from one to the other. They know all the nuts and bolts. But without involving your super users, your actual super user, the line of business, it's never going to address the business need, because we understand the business need because we represent the partner. And we definitely don't involve partners in the discussion, which is fair enough. But not involving partner marketing and partner sales in those discussions when you're scoping out what the needs and requirements of the PRM is. You can work out the hierarchy later. You can work out, do you start with a portal? Do you put the PRM underneath, or do you put the PRM on top? That's a discussion further down the line. But understanding business needs and what are we trying to achieve with our PRM system, we're still working that out 20 years later. Sorry, Charlie and John. We're still working it out.
And in my experience as well, the technical teams are more forgiving with themselves on the user experience, because technically, brilliantly behind the scenes, it works brilliantly. Whereas the line of business people, first and foremost, want it to look great for the partner.
Absolutely.
So different motivations day one, hour one.
So Amanda, one of the things I've noticed is, and it's exactly what you say, when they start building the partner platform or the program to have something, most of the times they do it way before they even have a complete idea of what the partner program for that company is going to look like. They just start saying, okay, we have to, if we're going to have a company that's going to go through the channel, we have to have a partner program. We have to have a portal. We have to have a program. We have to have a base idea what we want to offer to our partners. But they haven't done the actual touch base, how this works with the channel people, with the sales people, with the marketing people, understand what the route to market looks like for that business and how that is going to impact the channel and how the channel is going to benefit from that. Like, does it align my route to business? Does it align to my partner's business outcomes, right? So yes, definitely I've seen it. That I would say more than 60% of companies, they implement a program in a platform based on the needs of having something without understanding what the actual pains are from the people that are going to be working on that platform or in that program. And I think it's super important that not only internally you ask the questions, but you have to go external. You have to have a roundtable with the most important partners to understand what are their needs, what do they want, because they could be having a lot of things in the program they have access to, but that's not what's really important to them. They're not taking any benefit from that. So I think companies are missing that line of sight on understanding what partners really want, and very few actually do it.
I think sorry, go on, Jackie.
No, I just reflecting that, which is that, yeah, it always fills me with dread when vendor says, oh no, we're going to build it ourselves. It's like, you're going to waste your precious development resource to build something when there are companies out there doing this day in, day out, and have built recognized platforms that partners are used to using, because they follow the workflow and processes that partners understand, rather than, as you say, coming at it from the vendor side. Well, we need something, a portal. Sorry, Sophie, fire away.
I was just going to say, with a customer marketing hat on, you don't start a campaign in customer marketing until you've understood the customer journey and the customer buying journey and who those different stakeholders are. So one thing that, we always think when we're starting a partner project is, what's that partner journey? It's the same process and methodology, but with partners, not with customers. So what's the journey you want your customer to go on from lead to rebate? And then you can build the platform and the program around how you want the partner to interact. So just literally drawing it on a whiteboard, mapping it out, is a really good place to start.
So one of our delegates, Vaughan, was particularly interested to know how they can build a business case to justify internally a PRM, especially when some of the partners are from an early stage, pre-revenue. So have you guys had any, both delegates and Vaughan and Kevin, any thoughts around that? How do you start to build that business case for a PRM when you and your team are just frazzled?
I'll pipe something in here, but I also would really love to hear from John on this exact topic, unless he's the one that's actually asking the question.
I think that was my question. Yeah,
it was.
Yeah. So here's the thing that you look at here. When you get involved with a PRM in the first place, there are typically 3 or so really strong use cases that you're trying to solve. Okay. The first one is deal registration. The second one is an asset management system. And then the third one is having a place to go that you can actually do two-partner communication. Okay. Now, when you start to look at those 3 elements kind of broken down and how you would have to manage that via spreadsheets and outside content, all right? The first one on deal registration, there's a really strong business case for getting these things in play, because right now, unless there's a really refined system internally in your organization, those deals aren't making it into your CRM. Okay, so you might have a partner that's working on a deal that's completely invisible to your organization, or it might be attached to a salesperson. And in that case, that salesperson, in order to keep up with what's going on that deal, is having to do double enter, right? Like, you've got them working, and then you've got the salesperson having to constantly go to the partner just to update what's going on in your CRM. Now, that CRM to PRM integration, or the connection between those 2 things, solves a pretty serious problem in terms of forecast, pipeline, and exposure to the deal. Okay, so one use case is around that. The second thing on the content management system, your marketing folks end up having to do a lot of co-branding of any of the assets and the collaterals that you're trying to get in the hands of the partners. And on top of that, even when you're doing that, you don't really know on the partner side of things how much is being used, what they're using it for, whether they're actually co-branding it, whether they're even using it at all. And the content management systems that get rolled into these PRMs gives you the ability to co-brand those assets and the exposure to how often that they're being used. Okay, so you can, and what they're being used for. So you've got the ability to get a better view of what your partners are focusing on, what they're trying to sell, and combined with your deal registration, you've got a better topical area for how to support them in a way that allows them to drive more revenue into your ecosystem. The third thing on the partner portal is that without that, there's just no partner experience.
Yeah.
Right? Like everything is one-off. It's all reactionary. It's very little proactivity at all. In fact, I chatted with one of the cyber security companies that had launched a platform out a couple of months ago, and I said, well, what are you guys doing here? And they were so excited. They had just launched a WordPress site, and the entire reason that they launched this WordPress site was so that there was a place for partners to go just to download collateral. That was it, and they had thousands of partners. Now that site itself wasn't going to give them the exposure into what was going on, how it was being used, but it solved the first layer problem for their business.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's I mean, from a business use case, there are a couple of really quick wins with a very limited amount of investment, and most PRMs should be able to provide those 2 or 3 things and the reporting that goes along with it. If they don't have dashboards and reporting wrapped around that, it should ring the bell that you need to actually be considering, whether that's the solution.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense, because those are actually the 3 main components I'm really trying to implement with the PRM right now. It's just because, as you mentioned, it's just very reactive, and it's hard to give, say, for instance, my CRO that visibility and, hey, what is going on? How are we expanding with this partner? I know I'm investing a lot of time with them, but what's the return we're getting out of it, right? It's really hard to find all of that. So if I have that automated system, it's a lot easier. I can run reports, dashboards, and then we meet quarterly, even by, semi-annual, and I can say, hey, look, this is what's driving it. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish right now. So
yeah, and usually, sorry, one more thing. Usually those PRMs will actually handhold an onboarding process so that you can tell if the partner is actually as engaged with you as you are with them. If they're not walking through that onboarding process, that there's maybe something going on there. They might be talking a good game, but the investment might not be there. And as a result of the dashboarding and the reporting, what it allows you to do is put in automation that gives you triggers. It gives you an idea of if there's something happening there that you're just not aware of that you should be aware of.
Yeah, because I'm trying to also avoid the splashy, the 80-20 rule, right? They might have a very good brand, but if I'm not really getting much out of them, then I need to know that, right? It's nice to be a partner with them, but at the same time, it has to be a co-mutual kind of agreement,
So this is something very interesting that you mentioned, Juan, and that you are seeing, John. I don't know if you know this, but about 66% of partners today are in the mentality of do it for me. They don't want to go and sign up and sign in into the partner portal. They don't want to go and download a marketing campaign. They don't want to go and download the assets. They want the salespeople or the channel people to send them to them. For them, it's very tedious to go and do it and sign up and look at their information. They do it only, and I can tell you, I've seen it across the board. The reason they use the PRM tools that we offer them is for deal reg. That is 98% of the interaction the partners will have with your portal. Now, why is that? I think there's a lot to look at. If you look at it in the perspective of what you can take out of that tool that you're using, besides deal reg, partners will try to engage more. And what do I mean by that? I mean, do they have visibility of actually how they're growing? Or do they have to go and find out? So do they have to sign in go to a dashboard and try to see the information they would like to have in hand. No, they can't, they don't receive that, right? I've never seen a partner actually saying, oh, I received an email from the partner portal telling me that I've grown 10% of my growth, of my sales, or that I was level up and that I actually achieved the next level of partnership that I was so looking forward to. Or that I'm missing a certification that is going to keep me in the program. I am missing that. Normally, channel people have to go to the partner and say, hey, Mr. Partner, you're missing a certification. I need you to complete it. Please go to the portal and complete the certification. Or, oh, Mr. Partner, we are doing a releveling, so make sure that your requirements to keep in the partner program are up to date. So we are putting a lot into the partner to do, and they have so much work. They're actually talking to customers. They're bringing the deals. They're closing the deals. They're doing the demos. They're not going to go, and they don't want to. That for them, it's an operational work that they don't want to do. But what if our PRM system will send them emails letting them know of the achievement they're actually doing, copying the channel person that is in charge of that partner and saying, hey, Mr. Partner, we've noticed you've grown 10% of your sales. You're going there. Your goal is this one. We see you there, great job, keep at it. Or, hey, you have earned this amount of rebate. We're going to send you a check, or we're going to send you a credit note so you can, reinvest that money into the business. I don't see that. Partner people, channel people have to do that. We have to go to the partner and let them know about these things. And that is, I think, a very key part of having a great partner experience, is for them not to go looking for the information, but to get it.
Yeah.
I'll throw in there the idea too around friction. It's like anywhere that you can remove that friction. And Charlie talks about if you have to go in and do your deal registration, being able to customize where they do the deal registration and provide a single pane of glass to access all the other pieces there. So while you're doing your deal registration, it's very easy to navigate to, hey, I want to put on a piece of collateral. I want to download a sales sheet or a PDF and right away have that co-branded, versus having them to go dig into something else. Or if you've assembled a partner program from a bunch of different pieces of software, that you've got to jump out of one piece and go into the next. Also being predictive on those things. If you're going to do deal reg, if a deal has been registered, or if it reaches a certain criteria level, that you're offering content that you've seen other partners be successful with at that time. So you're kind of helping them and kind of being predictive on those pieces. But back to kind of what John was saying too, like removing the friction at any of those points, knowing that if it's hard to do business with you, your partners are not going to be jumping on board. If it's hard to go in and register a deal, which should be the most easy thing, like someone's bringing you revenue or bringing you an opportunity, that should be the most basic thing to do. Or if they want to use your collateral, that's such a hard thing for you even to have that mind share, that any point after that, if you're creating any friction, that's a way you're going to fall off or not want to be used the next time. If you make it hard to access those things, or make it hard to co-brand, or you're not willing to put your logo next to the partner's logo, or allowing them to do that with you, that just it kind of sets that mind share lower and lower each time through the friction.
I think having some of the, just coming back to your point, John, in terms of, the key points to justify a PRM to your executive and stakeholders is the opportunity or the cost not to do it. Mm-hmm. It's that you're losing partners. It's that, as Kevin said, the cost of being difficult to work with, the cost of perhaps producing content that no one's using because you don't know, because you're not tracking who's using what piece of content. So actually the cost of not doing it is perhaps a slightly different slant and way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think we kind of answered some of the questions. When Jackie first asked what the challenges were that everyone was facing, I wrote down the kind of the big buckets, which could be good headlines for your justification, John, because the first one I wrote down was time. Mm-hmm. Everyone was saying how much time it's taking to do things. So if you could quantify that time into money, then there's an ROI element of kind of time saving there. The other one I broke down was perception, all about the partner experience, how a partner's perceiving us, and a partner's seeing us as a small company or a big company, and are we presenting our best version of ourselves to the big partners and the GSI. So there's a kind of partner loyalty, retaining partners kind of angle there, again, you could kind of monetize. The next one was scale. Amanda was talking about scale, is how do we scale our partners? And she's got huge amounts of partners globally, but just to move from 20 partners to 50 partners to 100 partners, it's kind of planning ahead for the scale and then, you know, what you'll get from that scale. And then the last one, to your point, Vaughan, is kind of visibility. You know, what can you do with the information that's being given back to you to help you grow revenues and do more with partners? So you kind of got 4 buckets there that in some way you could maybe, with a bit of finger in the air, maybe, quantify.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's a CRO type decision, because, you know, that would be an interesting thing to know, actually. You know, who do you have to justify? What hoops do you need to go through to get things signed off?
Yeah, I mean, we roll under sales, so, you know, let's be honest, they're coin operated, right? So it's going to be, you know, it's all comes down to revenue. But yeah, I mean, they're on board, right? It's great. It's just now very similar to what, you know, Vaughan and the other folks were saying is, you know, we've leveraged marketing tools, which are not PRMs, right? We've leveraged all sorts of other internal tools that it's hard to get that visibility. And like, is this even working? And why are we expanding? Do we need another GSI? Why do we need that? Right? That kind of thing. So those are some of the questions I'm answering right now. It's like, well, here's why, right? And to your point, it's obviously revenue, but it's that expansion, right? How do we get out into new markets? All sorts of different things, right? We provide the innovation in their tech stack, right? Things like that.
There are a couple of interesting pieces and stats that get wrapped around this. There's no substitute for ease of doing business, right? You talk about ease of doing business on the product side of things, but on the partner side of things, the same challenges. Yep. And a lot of times when people are new to their partner programs and they're new to these platforms, the conversation that you start having with them, and I've done quite a bit of consulting in partner program development, you go in and you say to them, well, okay, so what is the value proposition for a partner to use you? And initially, at least in the early stages of these partner programs, a lot of times their value proposition is, we're the best X in this space, so they should use us.
Yeah.
And that's never enough, right?
Oh, yeah.
What it comes down to is that these different competitors are already giving your partners money, right? They're a proven resource to the partner, and they start pivoting towards you and they put that money at risk. So there are things that you've got to be able to do that support them in ways that are easier, that are faster, and that bring less risk and allow that business to proceed without the friction that Kevin's mentioned. That we were just sitting on actually a training with the Forrester folks around some of the research that they've done just recently, and they mentioned that in the next year there's a general tendency for people that have programs, they're going to be investing in these technologies at a pretty fast pace, at a larger pace than they did the previous year, to the effect of 61% plan on increasing their investment in their channel stack, okay? And 29% plan on it being at the same level as last year. Only 9% of them plan on cutting anything out. And then on top of that, for the folks that don't have PRMs yet, 47% of them plan on implementing the PRM. When you're sitting on the other end of that and trying to compete with folks that have these tools in place, they're investing in their tools, and it's making it easier for the partner to do business with you, one of the biggest qualitative things that you can bring to the table in those conversations is, do we want to keep up with our competitors who are investing in these areas at a faster pace than we are?
Yep, absolutely.
So interesting.
Just segueing from that, when you've taken that step, okay, so to go from a spreadsheet to a PRM, and really this is to your point, Charlie, how do you make sure that you are actually engaging and your partners with that PRM, doing that personalized messaging about, come back and have a look because your certification is due. Come back and have a look because you're about to lose your your revenue quota or whatever it is. How do you do that engagement and adoption of the PRM? Any thoughts around best practice for adoption?
Yeah, maybe I can jump in here. The more evolved platforms have the ability to run the entire hierarchy and the shifts between the tiers straight out of the platform. Okay, they've got enough automation, they've got enough tracking mechanisms to actually be able to do exactly what Charlie was suggesting, in that they can tell you how close you are. They should have business planning, and you can actually work through the things that need to be done to move you to the next tier or to avoid dropping off the tier that you're currently in.
Yeah.
Because all of those things exist in those platforms, you can turn around and you can build out that automation that would do exactly what Charlie's suggesting. Not only could they log in and see it directly in the platform, but you can set up those triggers that allow the platform to actually do that outreach on your behalf. I'm a big advocate that when you're really building partnerships, it just like a friendship or a relationship, it's all about having the time to build the relationship itself, right? And what these platforms do is they actually they take the administrative stuff off of the amount of time that you have to deal with it every day and allow you to build those relationships. And if they're not doing that, then you got to kind of take a look at, do you have the right systems in place to allow for that kind of time to spend with the partners to allow you to nurture those relationships? Otherwise, your competitors are spending that time and they're supporting them proactively.
Any other thoughts or ideas around adopting the PRM? Just
I
kind
think
of
Charlie had something here, but she was on mute.
Yeah, I was on mute. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch.
Yeah. So no, that's okay. So yeah, that's exactly that, because we've all said the same thing about great partner experience, but I haven't heard, or maybe we did mention it, but it's also about not only having a great partner experience, but keep the partner interested, make an interaction easy, and deliver what they need. That's what really creates a great partner ecosystem, is offering a way for the partners to keep engaged, that there's processes, system, and information in place that is going to help the partners understand their performance, their use of their benefits, that they're going to have timely, accurate, thoughtful engagement with the engineering team, for example. So they are getting the information they need to get the trainings done, the certifications done, and having a good channel communication and marketing activities that is going to help them gain partner confidence, and having an alignment with the field organization, the salespeople. So they're, like I said, that we are coming together with that same route to market message, and we are aligned with them at the same time for them to get the benefits that they want, and having a great strategic business planning. That is very key as well, because with that planning, you can see what the partners need, what they want. You can listen to them, and it's like you said, listening to a friend. What do you need for me to help you? Help me help you, right? And this is what we're going to do for you. And I don't think a lot of companies take that into consideration when they make decisions.
I agree with that.
I think you're right in terms of help them. We're finding this a lot, actually. Sophie and I've been working on concierge programs to help vendors with their partner end to end as a managed service. So, take a look at what they need, and then really helping them with every aspect of their marketing and doing campaigns and so forth, because it's hard for partners to sort of juggle all the number of vendors and go see customers, etc., and taking that doing the marketing heavy lifting, shall we say, and taking that away from them and just making it easy to work with is a big plus.
I loved your point, Charlie. Was it 66% of partners are in the just do it for me?
Yep.
So, final question that I have, which was, okay, so you haven't quite moved to PRM just yet. Anyone got any tips as to how to make, for instance, John, your job that little bit easier in the meantime? Until the decision has been made and then the implementation happens and you're doing your own job plus helping with the implementation, and it does take some time. So any tips and tricks around how to make your job easier in the meantime till you have this nirvana of a PRM managing all the admin for you? Any thoughts?
I'll start out, and it's kind of maybe don't make any hasty decisions. And I think I think you can, we talked about this earlier, and that was maybe, I'm hitting on the same point I mentioned before, but trying to fix it with a Band-Aid versus setting the broken bone and making things kind of actually work correctly. Like you said, if you roll it up into the sales organizations, there's a lot of quick and easy little tools that you could jump into. You buy a contract for a year with a piece of software that you think kind of fits something, and then you start bolting other pieces on there because you haven't kind of future-proofed yourself. I think too of taking the time, and I'm not saying not to do it, and this is kind of maybe counterproductive, but continue to struggle a little bit rather than a quick fix that's going to cause more problems down the road. And again, the other point I said on there too was that making sure if you're in the sales organization, make sure that you have the marketing organization involved. Make sure there's like an executive buy-in from all of the silos that are going to be impacted, because if you make it strictly as a sales decision and you have all the great shiny sales tools, but you're missing the marketing piece, you're missing the reporting piece, that'll just lead to more problems down the road. So I think take the time and go through the process is maybe the biggest piece of advice.
I would agree with that. I think Amanda, who sadly had to leave, would have talked to that point. She's given a great talk for us in the past around sales and marketing alignment. And it is absolutely key to get all of those line of business people's involvement as to how they want to use the tool. As she said, rather than technology teams deciding what you're going to be using. I think absolutely key.
One thing too,
and if I may add,
so Amanda said too, like, you're not going to invite your partners in there, but I think if you're able to if you have a close, tight-knit group of partners, that they could almost be like your partner advisory council, or they could be some type of way of sampling them too, because there is value there. How they use the system, or if you have that ability to have that conversation with, I think that's also would be a huge benefit, to pull in partners as soon as you can to make sure that you're serving them in the way they want to be served, and they represent a good cross-section of who's actually going to be using your programs.
Sorry about that, Kevin. I was going to add one thing I haven't heard yet, and it's getting the buy-in from the sales leaders to the sales team. And why I say this, John, is because many times I've seen a disconnect between sales reps and channel reps.
Oh, yeah.
Because sales reps not always understand the value of the partners for the organizations. Sometimes they see them as a wall or a stopper for them to go get the business directly through the client, and they don't necessarily understand what value they're adding to their own business. So before making a decision, like Kevin said, don't create a Frankenstein, right? And that's a lot of companies do that. They create a Frankenstein in their organization. They pull so many other things to make something available for the partners. But when you do that, you're showing the salespeople that are going to be the ones engaging the most with the client and with the partner on any specific deal, that you're trying just to get out of the way with something, and it's not that important. And that's when the value starts to lose sight. So if you get the buy-in from the sales leaders to understand why partners are so important to the organization, why they add so much value, and how much money they can make by giving that opportunity to the partner part of the system, then you have half of the battle won. because a lot of companies, salespeople do not want it. They don't want to deal with partners. And that is, I think, one of the most important aspects of doing business is getting the salespeople to agree.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
And just as a caveat to that, once you've got a really good partner and you're working well with them, in the same way as you're getting your sales teams buy-in, if you can offer them a bit more, do some co-marketing with them and handhold them through that process, and then kind of build that into like a little case study so that then you can show the other partners, this is the way we like to work.
Yeah.
This is how we work well with our partners. So you're building also that referenceability. It's your value prop to other partners as the way in which you like to partner, which is a nice sound. And if you tie that up in a nice way that you're co-marketing and you're investing in them as a partner and doing things like that, and they're making money with you, I think that's a really sound business case for the internal team and also for the partner.
Yep.
All right. I think we're at time, Jackie.
We are indeed. We're at time. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, guys. Great contribution.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
No,
Really
thank you for having us.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
All right. We lost Amanda, and then I forgot to add her back into the stage. You're on mute.
Do we need to? It's still live. Do we need to close out here to
Yeah, I'm gonna end the stream now.
Yep.
Okay.